Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Okay, now we will start. Okay. You can speak up now, not in the chat when I want to hear your voice also. Okay. Anyone, you can speak up. At least just say something.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But I cannot hear you now. Okay, if I'm audible, okay, we'll start. Okay, we'll start the class. So we are talking about the mechanism of hormone action. So in the last two classes, we talk about in the last class we talk about the mechanism of hormonal action. Okay, so hormone, it will influence the target cell by binding to its specific receptors. Okay, so in the last class we talk about three receptors. Number one, they are ion link receptor. Number two, they are G protein link receptor. And the third one is the enzyme link receptor. Okay, so through these three mechanisms, hormones, they will influence their target cell. Okay, this we have already talked. That is regarding the cell membrane receptor only. Okay, these three mechanisms, okay, they are done through the cell membrane receptor only. So in the second mechanism, it was G protein link receptors. We talk about G protein link receptor. Okay, we have already discussed that one. But under this one, there is subheading. That is second messenger mechanism is there. That means there is production of second messenger. Okay, am I audible or not? Yeah, I don't know why I cannot hear you. Okay, if I'm audible, I think it's okay. Okay. So under G protein link receptors, okay, there is a subheading that is second messenger mechanism. Okay, that we'll discuss first. Okay, what is second messengers? Okay, what are second messengers? They are intracellular signaling molecules. Okay, intracellular signaling molecules. That means they are working inside the cell. Okay, they signal something inside the cell. Okay, these are the molecules which is signaling some intracellular mechanism. Okay, and these are released by the cell in response to exposure to extracellular signaling molecules. Okay, the meaning of this one is that intracellular signaling molecules, okay, they are the molecules, okay, which will be produced, okay, or which will be produced, okay, in response to exposure to extracellular signaling molecules. What does it mean? Okay, these second messengers, they will be produced only after there is some signals from the extracellular fluid. For example, let's say we have the cell here. Okay, so here membrane receptor is here. Okay, and here is a hormone. Okay, let's say this is the hormone. Okay, so what hormone will this? That this is extracellular signaling molecule. So the example of extra signaling molecule here is the hormone, because they are in the extracellular fluid, let's say. So it will bind to its receptor. So this is the hormonal receptors. Okay, then what will happen is that inside, okay, this receptor, activated receptor, it will lead to the production of what we call second messenger. Okay, and then this second messenger will influence the function of the cell. Okay, I repeat once again. Second messengers, they are intracellular signaling molecules working inside the cell, and they will be produced or released in response to exposure to extracellular signaling molecule. In this example, here it is the hormone. Okay, the hormone is extracellular signaling molecule. Okay, so this is second messenger. Okay, so one of the means by which hormones exert intracellular action is to stimulate formation of the second messenger cyclic AMP, okay, or CAMP, adenosine monophosphate inside the cell membrane. Okay, now this point is important, is that the most common second messenger is the cyclic AMP. Okay, there are other second messengers also, but the most common one is the cyclic AMP or CAP, cyclic adenosine monophosphate. Okay, so it means that when a hormone binds to its receptor outside, there will be production of this second messenger known as cyclic AMP inside the cell, and this cyclic AMP then it will influence the biochemical reaction inside the cell. Okay, like by activating an enzyme. Okay, so the cyclic AMP then cause, as I told you, subsequent intracellular effects of the hormones. Okay, cyclic AMP is called second messenger because it is not the hormone itself that directly institutes the intracellular changes. Instead, the cyclic AMP serves as a second messenger to cause this effect. So it is clear that cyclic AMP is second messenger. It is not the first messenger. We can say that the first messenger is the hormone. Okay, the hormone will influence its receptors, which is causing production of the second messenger cyclic AMP. And this second messenger, in this example, cyclic AMP, that it will co-influence the function of the cell. So it is the second messenger. So hormone is not directly acting, okay, but second messenger will do the actual function, we can say, okay, actual influence on the cell function. Thus, the only direct effect of the hormone has on the cell is to activate a single type of membrane receptor. Okay, just now I already told you, membrane receptor will be stimulated by the hormone. Then the second messenger, for example, cyclic AMP, will do the rest. Okay. And you see, for a few peptide hormones such as atrial natriuretic peptide AMP, cyclic guanosine monophosphate, which is only slightly different from cyclic AMP, serves in a similar manner as a second messenger. For example, when ANP is binding to its receptor, ANP hormone is binding to its receptor, instead of producing cyclic AMP, this will produce cyclic GMP, cyclic guanosine monophosphate. So CGMP is also another second messenger. But as I told you, the most common type of cyclic AMP is this cyclic AMP, okay, adenosine monophosphate. But in some cases, cyclic GMP may also act as a second messenger in this example, okay. Cyclic AMP is not only the second messenger used by different hormones. So as I told you, CGMP is also there, okay. Others include calcium ions and associated calmodulins. Okay, it means calcium, when it is binding with the calmodulin, it may act as a second messenger. Okay, we already know cyclic AMP, cyclic GMP, and the third one is calcium ions and associated calmodulin. And another one is which can act as the second messenger is products of membrane phospholipid breakdown. All these things we'll discuss in detail. Okay. So let us discuss first the most important second messenger system. Okay, the most common one. Okay, which is known as adenylyl cyclase cyclic AMP second messenger system. Here there is involvement of the enzyme as well as the cyclic AMP. Okay, and this is known as adenylyl cyclase cyclic AMP secant messenger. So as I told you, we have already discussed about the G protein link receptor in the previous class. Okay, from there only we will repeat. Okay, how this secant messenger cyclic AMP is produced. Okay, so from the diagram you can see binding of the hormones with the receptor allows coupling of the receptor to a G protein. Okay, let's say this red in color. Okay, this is the hormone. Now it is binding through its receptors, binding site which is on the extracellular fluid site. Okay, that's why you know that we have already discussed in the last class. This binding will lead to change in the receptor, and which will lead to coupling of the receptor to a G protein. Here G protein, you already know it is a trimeric. I've already told you, alpha, beta, and gamma are there. Okay, all this process we have already discussed. Okay, so if the G protein is GS, that means stimulatory protein. Okay, it will stimulate the adenyl cyclase cyclic AMP system. Okay, if it is GI, I already told you this one also, it will inhibit the enzymes. Okay, instead of stimulating it, it will inhibit the function of the enzyme. That means it will inhibit, here you see, adenyl cyclase. If the G protein is inhibitory, but if the G protein is stimulatory or GS protein, adenyl cyclase activity will be stimulated. Okay, so let's see here who our interest is that stimulatory function. Okay, now suppose hormone binds to its receptors. Okay, hormone binds to its receptors, and there will be change in the conformation of this receptor, and the portion of the receptor which is exposed to the intracellular or fluid or cytosol. Okay, and then it will couple with what to say this trimeric. Okay, this G protein. And I've already told you that there also GGP will be converted into GTPNO. Okay, and then this alpha subunit, that here you can see. Okay, I'll not repeat all this thing. From the diagram it is clear. Okay, so it will activate this adenyl cyclase enzyme. Okay, earlier it was not activated, this adenyl cyclase, but when there is activation of adenyl cyclase, what will happen is that it will convert ATP into cyclic AMP. Okay, here it will convert, activated adenyl cyclase will convert ATP into cyclic AMP. And you know that cyclic AMP, as I told you, it is a secant messenger. Okay, what it will do is that it will activate cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase again. Okay, earlier it was inactive here. Okay, this inactive form of cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase, this enzyme, it was inactivated. It was in inactive form, but when production of cyclic AMP is there, it will activate this. Okay, this protein kinase, then it becomes activated protein kinase. Okay, then this is the activated enzyme. Then what it will lead to is that it will lead to phosphorylation of many enzymes, different enzymes again inside. Okay, and then when phosphorylation is taking place, or we can say phosphorylation of the enzyme is taking place, so many enzymes, they will be activated, and there will be influence on the cell function. Okay, is it clear or not? So I cannot hear your voice. Okay, so here another important point here. Once cyclic AMP is formed inside the cell, it usually activates a cascade of enzymes. That means it will be clear here. For example, that is, first one enzyme is activated. Okay, which activates a second enzyme, which activates a third, and so forth. For example, initially only one enzyme is activated. Okay, enzyme again, it will activate the third enzyme, fourth, fifth, sixth, like that. So many enzymes will be activated, even if the hormone exon is very less. That means here you can see only a few molecules of activated adenylyl cyclase immediately inside the cell membrane can cause many more molecules of the next enzyme to be activated, which can cause still more molecules of the third enzyme to be activated, and so forth. So it is very simple. Okay, I'll tell you that here we are having only one hormone acting on its receptor. It is only one molecule of a hormone. But what you have to remember is that this only one hormone, it can activate so many enzymes because it is acting cyclic AMP from inside. It usually activates a cascade of enzymes. As I told you, the first enzyme will activate the second enzyme, then second enzyme will activate the third one will activate another, the fourth enzyme, fifth, sixth, seventh, like that. Okay, that means even we can say in this way, even the slightest amount of hormone acting on the cell surface can initiate a powerful cascading activated force for the entire cell. Okay, so we'll move ahead. So regarding the inhibitory G protein, stimulatory G protein, you already know. I will not, repeat it. So the specific action that occurs in response to increase or decrease of cyclic AMP in each type of the target cell depends on the nature of the intracellular machinery. Some cells have one set of enzymes and other cells have other set of enzymes. So the meaning of this one is that, okay, cyclic AMP, okay, in a particular cell, it may increase the function of the enzyme, but in another cell, it may decrease the function of that cell, okay, because the intracellular machinery, okay, it is different because they are having different set of enzymes. Okay, I'll repeat again. Cyclic AMP in one type of cell, it may increase the function of the cell, but in another type of cell, it may decrease because the intracellular machinery of those two cells, they are different because they are having different sets of enzymes. Okay. Therefore, different functions are elicited in different target cells, such as, okay, initiating synthesis of a specific intracellular chemicals. Okay. Number 2, causing muscle contraction or relaxation. Number 3, initiating secretion by the cells. Number 4, altering cell permeability. So you can see here, cyclic AMP is all produced in these different cells, but their function is so different. Okay, in muscle, what it does is that cyclic AMP, what it does is that it will lead to contraction or relaxation of the muscle. Okay, but in some other cells, it may cause synthesis of chemicals. Okay, in some cells, the cyclic AMP, it may lead to secretion. Okay, and in some cells, it may alter the permeability of the cell for different molecules. Okay, so all these, they are dependent on the cyclic AMP, but these functions, they are present in different types of the cells. Okay, and it is producing different functions. That means there is a difference in the intracellular machinery of different types of the cells. Okay, here again, thus, for example, thyroid cells stimulated by cyclic AMP forms the metabolic thyroxine and triiodothyronine, whereas the same cyclic AMP in the adrenocortical cell causes secretion of the ACTH. So here, let us just say thyroid gland and adrenal gland. In the thyroid gland, what cyclic AMP will do is that formation of the thyroid hormones, these two hormones. But the same cyclic AMP in the adrenal gland, it will lead to secretion of ACTH. So in adrenal gland, it is the secretory function. Okay, cyclic AMP will perform secretory function, but in case of thyroid cell, it is the synthesis of the thyroid hormones. Okay, so another example is that in epithelial cells of the renal tubules, what cyclic AMP does is that it increases the permeability of the water. Okay, this one, altering cell permeability. So you just have to remember that cyclic AMP, they are second messengers. Okay, their function can be different type. It can have different types of functions depending upon the type of the cell or the tissue. So in different tissues, their function is different. Okay, here I'm giving you the examples. Okay, so that is the adenylyl cyclase, cyclic AMP second messenger. So there is relationship between an enzyme known as adenyl cyclase and another one, second messenger is the cyclic AMP. Okay, so the second type of the second messenger system is phospholipid second messenger system. So this is also very simple. Some hormones activate transmembrane receptors that activate enzyme phospholipase. So here we can see this is the cell membrane, okay? And here is the hormonal receptor, okay? Facing, the binding site is facing again extracellular fluids. For example, this is a peptide hormone bind to its receptors here, okay? So from the diagram, you can see that this receptor, when there is change in the receptors, again, it will activate the G protein, and activation of the G protein will lead to what is known as the activation of the phospholipase C. Okay, phospholipase C, this is an enzyme present in the cell membrane. Okay, so this enzyme catalyzes this phospholipase C, then it will catalyze breakdown of the some phospholipid in the cell membrane, especially phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate PIP2. Okay, so here you can see this PIP2 in the cell membrane, then it will be converted into inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol. Okay, from this diagram it is clear. Receptor is stimulated, G protein is activated, and then this will activate the phospholipase C. Phospholipase C will convert PIP2 into IP3 and DAG. Okay, diacylglycerol and inositol triphosphate. Okay, then what is the next point? Then this IP3, what it does is that it will mobilize calcium ions from the endoplasmic reticulum and the mitochondria. Okay, IP3 inositol triphosphate's function is to mobilize calcium from endoplasmic reticulum, especially, and also from the mitochondria. Okay, and then the calcium ions then have their own second messenger effects, such as smooth muscle contraction and changes in cell secretion. Okay, so when calcium they are available in large amount in the cell, for example, in smooth muscle fiber, what they will do is that they will cause muscle contraction. Okay, in another cell, this calcium may lead to changes in the cell secretion. So cell's response will be that. Okay, so this is the function of IP3. What about diacylglycerol? Okay, diacylglycerol, then this is the, it will activate enzyme protein kinases. Okay, here you can see this DSC will activate this inactive protein kinase C to active protein kinase C. Okay, and the rest is similar. Okay, this again, this active protein kinases, then it will phosphorylate many enzymes, or that means it will activate many enzymes again. And then those enzymes, they may increase or decrease the cell function again. That means the cell response. That means they are having influence on the cell function again. Okay, so phospholipase C is that phospholipase C messenger system is that it is having two effects here. We can see, okay, by mobilizing calcium from endoplasmic reticulum and mitochondria, and another one is that it will activate protein kinase. Okay, activated protein kinase, then it will have many effects by performing phosphorylation of many enzymes. That means enzymes, many enzymes, they are activated. When they are activated means ultimately biological reaction inside the cell will be influenced. Okay, so the last type of second messenger system is calcium calmodulin second messenger system. Okay, so another second messenger system operates in response to the entry of calcium into the cells. Okay, so you already know that calcium entry may be initiated by changes in membrane potential that opens calcium channel. Okay, this is what we have already discussed in the previous class. It means when we talk about the muscle contraction, you know. Okay, another one is that a hormone interacting with membrane receptors that open calcium channels. Okay, even the hormone interacting with membrane receptors, it can open the calcium channel. This is what we are going to discuss. Okay, so let's say on entering of a cell, calcium ions bind to the protein calmodulin. The first one, you just see the first diagram. Okay, here we have receptor. receptor protein, hormonal receptor. This signaling molecule, let's say this is a hormone. Okay, it binds to its receptors. When it binds to its receptors, what it does is that it will cause so many changes in this membrane bound protein molecules. Okay, then ultimately its function is to open the calcium channel, these ion channels. Okay, this is, let's say this is calcium channel. So opening of the calcium channel takes place. Okay, so in the second diagram also you can see, because of this hormone binding to its receptor, there is opening of the calcium channel. So calcium, as it is higher outside of the cell, they will diffuse from outside to the inside. Okay, from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, or we can say that even some calcium, they may be mobilized from the endoplasmic reticulum also. Okay, so we have to remember that inside here there is a molecule known as calmodulin. Okay, calmodulin, it is nothing but a protein molecule, and this calmodulin, it is having four calcium binding sites. Okay, it is having 4 calcium binding sites. Here I have not shown here. You will just now concentrate on the second diagram only. Okay, so calcium, these calcium ions, okay, which enter the cell or which are now available in the cytosol, then they will bind to the calmodulin. So as I told you, calmodulin, it is having 4 calcium binding sites. Okay, here when 3 or 4 of these sites have been bound with calcium, the calmodulin changes its shape and initiate multiple effects inside the cell, including activation or inhibition of protein kinases. So the rest is similar only. That means here you can see 4 calcium ions, they are bound with the calmodulin molecules. Okay, so this binding will cause changes in the conformation. Okay, conformation of this calcium calmodulin complex, and this complex means binds to other proteins. Okay, it will bind to other proteins and activate, for example, protein kinase again, and then protein kinase will activate so many other enzymes again. Okay, so activation of calmodulin dependent protein kinase by phosphorylation causes activation or inhibition of proteins involved in the cell response to the hormone. So here we have to remember that depending upon the type of cell again, this calmodulin, calcium calmodulin complex, it may activate the protein or it may inhibit also. So in this example, I'm just showing the activated protein kinase, but in some cell, it may be inhibitory action again. Okay. For example, one of the specific functions of calmodulin is to activate myosin light chain kinase, which act directly on the myosin of smooth muscle to cause smooth muscle contraction. Okay, for example, here you see this is the calcium calmodulin complex. Okay, then it will activate this MLCK, myosin light chain kinase. Okay, so this will it means that how it is activated is met, it is causing the phosphorylation of this MLCK. Okay, when calcium calmodulin complex binds to MLCK, it is causing phosphorylation, attachment of the phosphate bonds. Okay, phosphate groups. Okay, and then when this is taking place, then myosin light chain will be activated. So it will be in active form. That means it will lead to phosphorylate again. MLCK will lead to phosphorylation of MLC, and the ultimate effect will be contraction of the smooth muscle. Okay, so the normal calcium ion concentration in most cells of the body is 10 to the power minus 8 to this much. Okay, which is not enough to activate the calmodulin system. Okay, so you say inside the cell the concentration of calcium is quite low. Okay, so those concentration is not sufficient to activate the calmodulin. So because of that, as I told you, entry of calcium from the outside or from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, it is necessary. So that is made possible by binding of hormone to its receptor. So calcium channel opens. Okay. So that is why function of action of calcium hormone is very important. Until and unless a hormone bind to its receptor to cause calmodulin to be activated. Okay. So enough calcium will not be available inside the cell. Okay, so binding of hormone to its receptors to cause calmodulin activation, it is very important because that will lead to entry of calcium from outside of the cell to the inside. Okay, so here this we can correlate with what we have already discussed. Okay, this is almost exactly the same amount of calcium ion change that is required in skeletal muscle to activate troponin C, which causes skeletal muscle contraction. Okay, troponin C we have already discussed in case of skeletal muscle. Okay, so it is similar. Means the amount of calcium required is also similar. We can just link calmodulin to troponin C. Okay, they are more or less similar, but their presence is different. Okay, so these are the three main types of second messenger system. Number one, adenylyl cyclase, cyclic AMP. Number two, phospholipase C. And the third one is calcium calmodulin complex. Okay, so this one we have already discussed. This part so that is regarding the action of hormones on the membrane receptor. So far we have discussed it much. Okay, now let's see. What about the intracellular hormone receptors? Just now, whatever we have discussed regarding the mechanism of action, it is only regarding membrane receptors. Okay, what about intracellular hormone receptors? Okay, it is simple. You see, several hormones such as adrenal and gonadal hormones and thyroid hormones binds with protein receptors inside the cell rather than in the cell membrane. Okay, this you already know very well. Steroid hormones and thyroid hormones, they are having their receptor located inside the cytoplasm and nucleus. Okay, steroid hormones is different. Okay, as I told you, it may be having its receptor located in the cell membrane also, and also inside the nucleus also. But most of the receptors for steroid hormones, they are located in the cytoplasm. Okay, and regarding the thyroid hormones, its receptor is located inside the nucleus only. Okay, that one also I've already told you. Okay, and you know that steroid hormones and thyroid hormones, they are lipid soluble. Okay, so that they can readily cross the cell membrane because cell membrane is lipid bilayer and interact with receptors in the cytoplasm or the nucleus. Okay, now let's see here the first diagram. Okay, steroid hormone, it is penetrating the cell membrane. Okay, and bind to its receptors in the cytoplasm, and this complex, and it will penetrate the nuclear membrane. Okay, and enter the nucleus. Okay, here in this example also, for example, steroid hormones penetrating the cell, but here in this case, its receptor is located inside the nucleus, and this it will bind there, and it will form hormone receptor complex. Okay, so this is an example of for thyroid hormone also. Okay, so once then deactivated. Okay, so in this diagram it is very clear. Now let us see. It is just saying that lipophilic hormone. Lipophilic hormone means it can be all the steroid hormones as well as thyroid hormones. Okay, so now it is entering the cell by penetrating the cell membrane. Okay, so this hormone, it may bind to its receptor located inside the cytoplasm, or this hormone may penetrate the nuclear membrane and bind to its receptor inside the nucleus. Okay, either way it is possible depending upon the type of the hormone, steroid hormones. But as I told you, thyroid hormones, it will always be like this. Okay, directly it will first penetrate the nuclear membrane and bind to its receptor inside the nucleus. Okay, so either way there is formation of hormone receptor complex. Okay, now the activated hormone receptor complex then binds with the specific regulatory sequence of the DNA called the hormone response element. That means this one also I already told you, it will simulate a particular segment of the DNA which is known as a gene. Okay, so this complex will cause activation of a particular gene here, and what it will do is that is known as the transcription will take place. Process of transcription will take place. That is the formation of messenger RNA. And messenger RNA, okay, this messenger RNA then will move out of the nucleus and inside the ribosome. It will start producing protein, which is known as, the process is known as translation that I already told you. Okay, so this protein is now produce. Okay, so the function of thyroid hormones and steroid hormones is to produce new hormone. Okay, so I'll not repeat here. Therefore, minutes, hours, or even days after the hormone has entered the cell, newly formed proteins appear in the cell and become the controller of new or altered cellular function. Okay, so this new protein may be produced within minutes also, or it may take some hours, or it may take even more time, that means even days. Okay, it may take. And this new protein, then it will alter cellular function. Okay, some may act as a enzyme, some may act as a structural protein also. Okay, so many different tissues have identical intracellular hormones receptors, but the genes that the receptor regulates are different in the various tissues. Okay, for example, many different tissues, okay, many different tissues have identical intracellular hormone receptors. Okay, they are having identical receptors. Different tissues, they are having identical hormonal receptors, okay, inside. Okay, but the problem is, the difference is that, but the genes that the receptor regulate are different in various tissues. Okay, here I'm telling you that, so this gene is here in this example, this messenger RNA is produced, but in another type of cell, the gene may be different, although the receptor are similar. Okay, so the protein they produce will be different in different types of the tissues. Okay, thus the responses of different tissues to a particular hormone are determined not only by the specificity of the receptors, but also the expression of genes that the receptor regulates. So that is why we cannot rely on the specificity of the receptor, okay, to produce the same type of protein, but it is depending upon the expression of genes that the receptor regulates also. Okay, so all these things, expression of genes and all, it will be discussed in more detail in biochemistry class in second year. It will be clearer. Okay, so let's see among these intracellular receptors activation. Now there are 2 points. Again, number one is steroid hormones increases protein synthesis. That this is just a repetition. Okay, steroid hormones cause synthesis of protein in the target cell. You already know the complex is hormone receptor complex is activating a particular gene, causing formation of mRNA. mRNA move out of the cell, and inside the ribosome, there is formation of new protein. I've already told you. So as I told you, this protein then function as the protein may be either, okay, the new protein produced may be either enzyme, it may be transport protein. That means it may become a part of this cell membrane. It means those channels we have already discussed. Okay, calcium channels, sodium, potassium, GAT, all those things we have discussed. Okay, these are the transport proteins. Okay, the new protein produced by the cell, by the action of steroid hormones, may become either enzyme causing cellular change in biochemical reaction inside the cell, or they may become transport protein, or they may become a part of structural proteins. Okay, structural proteins may be forming the structure of the structural part of the cell. Okay, which is not maybe for the mechanical protection of the cell or some other function. Okay, the sequence of events, this is same. Okay, there is no need of repetition. Steroid hormones entering the cell, it may bind with its receptor inside the cytoplasm, or it may be here also another receptor may also be there for steroid hormones. And the complex, it is stimulating a particular segment of DNA, forming messenger RNA, that is transcription, and messenger RNA move out of the nucleus and inside the ribosome. Translation takes place. That is, new protein is produced. Then this new protein, as I told you, I just want to stress here again. Okay, initially they are not active protein. You already know that in the Golgi apparatus and in the plasmic reticulum, they have to undergo some processes. Okay, they have to be chopped off also. Okay, pro-hormone, and ultimately hormone that we have already discussed. Okay, so the last point for today's class is thyroid hormone increase gene transcription in the cell nucleus. So not much difference from that of the action of steroids. Okay, so you see the thyroid hormones, they are two in number, thyroxine and triiodothyronine. they are causing transcription, that means formation of messenger RNA. Okay, this you know very well, I'll not repeat. They activate that genetic mechanism for the formation of many types of intracellular proteins, probably 100 or more. Many of these enzymes that promote enhanced intracellular metabolic activity in virtually all cells of the body. Okay, once bound to the intracellular receptor, the thyroid hormones can continue to express their control functions for days or even weeks. Okay, I'll just repeat again. So T3 and T4. T3 is triiodothyronine, T4 is thyroxine. Okay, it enters the cell. So most of the T4 also, it will be converted into T3. And T3 then, it enters the nucleus, okay, bind with its receptors. And then just like the steroid hormones, it will also stimulate a particular segment of the gene, causing transcription, translation, etc. Okay, so you can see the action of thyroid hormones. Okay, it is slow. Okay, it may take to produce new protein. It may take days or even weeks. Okay, but it will last very long. Okay, it will last very long. The duration of action is very, long. Okay, this is for today. Thank you.